Red alert. Red alert. Signals are changing. Red alert. Some signals turning back to bullish. I just made a video yesterday, great length and detail, but wanted to quickly update you because signals are now changing. We talked about need more signals to change. Get back above the 20-period moving average if this is the real deal, Don Steele, and not a fake, phony, baloney, plastic banana, good time, rock and roll, fake rally to bounce. But it's the real deal. Then we need to see the trend signals begin to turn back to bullish and more of the momentum signals. Told you to be watching for a bounce off of key support here or a breakdown, one or the other. We got the inverted hammer. Very last day of trading, we got the inverted bullish hammer. That's now being confirmed. I told you to be watching for that. My last update, back above the 10-period moving average, the red line. We got back above the 50, and we're just right at it right now, stalling at our 20-period moving average. That's the blue line you see right there. Again, the risk is that we just rise back up and we still have a head and shoulders. And this is part of the head. This is not the shoulder here, but this is just part of the head. And that we get a right shoulder and we end up still going down. The other possibility is this is just a counter trend bounce. We still have a head and shoulders with this right here, this back test of this trend line right here, and the test of the 20-period moving average. And we're just getting another lower high before breaking down. But I'm getting bullish signals with this move now. So momentum is shifting to shift here. So if it is successful, we could see trend signals begin to turn back to bullish, and we could attempt to get back above our 20 period. Still may be just a larger counter trend for another lower high for the right shoulder. Still, just coming back up here and getting the right shoulder, and this is just the head. But if we can see things flip back to bullish, then you got a shot at coming back and taking out this high, resuming the advance and going up to the upper channel line in the weekly time frame. Are you picking up what I'm throwing down? Now, we had the 10 drop below the 50, and the 20 is not there yet. It still may happen, but we're going to be watching. Is this a bump followed by a dump or a little bit bigger, or is this a legitimate reversal at key horizontal support? So now we have confirmation of the inverted hammer. Now we need a follow through, and then we need to see signals all begin to flip back to bullish. Momentum is already trying to. More evidence, more signals to turn back to bullish. So red alert, signals are trying to turn back to bullish. I'll show you what's going on with momentum. So on the daily time frame, we are now in the Friday session with Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin futures. We're trying to flip the cloud right here, right now. The momentum is trying to flip back to bullish. If the awesome oscillator can go back in a positive territory, we can go higher. This divergence has given us about has given us 15.70% of a decline. We've had nearly a 16% drop. So if we're going to firm up with the MACD and the divergence is going to maybe form a larger divergence, or we get a brand new one, again, we need to see these signals begin to flip back to bullish. You see the little blue arrow? That's telling you it's trying to flip. Now, the close will not be until the end of the session on Friday. So we don't know if it will be successful, but it is attempting other signals flipping as well. This one's trying to do it with the Friday session. Momentum can successfully flip like it did back over here, and over here, right here, and over here. If I just zoom out, again, when we got our higher low at 52,000, it flipped back to bullish there. And then we pull back to the 100 period in the daily time frame, the Bitcoin price, the 200 right here. And again, it flipped back to bullish right there. And then we had another pullback, breakout and back test with Bitcoin, and it flipped back to bullish again. While with the awesome oscillator being in positive territory up until we've had this sell-off. So if we can see the awesome oscillator start to flip, MACD start to firm up, we see momentum turn back up, then we may resume the advance. Trying to flip momentum here, the Friday session. please support the channel with the link directly below. That allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the charts, you like the indicators, let me know that by supporting the channel today. I thank you for your consideration for that. I warned you in my last update, New Year's Day, again, that we could see momentum try to flip back up. That is what is happening right now. It is turning back up at key support. So again, are we going to get a right shoulder here? Did we already have one here and this is just a counter trend and we break down, we end up breaking down, or selling done? And the divergence gave us nearly a 16% decline, and now we're going to resume the advance for another push higher. Talked about the support levels if we get a bigger sell-off, but the resistance levels we have to clear to go to the next level of resistance right around 120 to 125,000. If it's close but no cigar and we don't make it up to that other channel line, then we could just go back and test this trend line again, go slightly higher, and still stall at this trend line right here. So keep that possibility in mind as well. Over here we tagged this trend line a couple of times at each peak. We're turning down off of it. So we're watching to see if we clear this trend line, we stall at it, if we can get the traction back up to go back and challenge the high. Just another target area that still might keep us under 115,000 if we can't clear the trend line altogether, move to that upper channel line. If it's close but no cigar, like it was at the bottom, we didn't quite reach the trend line at the very bottom. Bitcoin bottomed at 15,000. Just food for thought. Now, another positive development with Bitcoin is that we're getting the RSI back above 50. Right now, we're trying to anyways. Okay, if we can clear the 20, we can get back above the 50, and we're just closing right above the 50 period moving average. If we can clear that 20, then momentum could turn, and we could either form a brand new divergence or an extreme, or build upon the one that we already have. But we did have this triple divergence that's given us a move back to support of just under 16%. If we get a right shoulder, we break this trend line right here, then the risk is we come down to our 100 period moving average, or this trend line right here, including the shadow, or we could even exclude the shadow there, and it would be a little bit closer to the 100 period moving average. RSI is trying to go positive. The MACD has got to be able to go positive in order to turn this around. Again, the risk is that we come back down and up hitting this trend line right here, then still bouncing and either getting a slightly lower low to form a divergence on the histogram there, turn it down and then be able to turn this back up, or the difference between the MACD line and the signal line, or again a higher low. So again, we'll be watching, can the momentum signals that I've talked about, can they play out? We may not reach this trend line if we can get back above that 20 period moving average. If we end up losing horizontal support and the trend line, then look out below, you're going to get a bigger dump. Again, I talked about the RSI losing this trend line right here. We broke it. We're below 50. Now we're getting back above it. You got to get back above 50 and stay above 50 and get back above that 20 period moving average if we're going to turn this around. The risk is, again, we still form a right shoulder, a lower high, still end up getting a bigger dump possible, or that we go above this high right here, a little bit higher than that peak over here at 99,550, and we get a slightly higher high above this level, but still lower than this peak, get that right shoulder a little bit higher than this area, and still get a dump. Again, we need to see some evidence with trend signals all turning back to bullish, momentum signals all turning bullish, some have, and remaining that way. Making this video because we're now seeing some momentum signals turn back to bullish, so putting out a red alert telling you that momentum could be flipping here, try to change the daily trend back to bullish. Let me show you more bullish signals that are happening. Now again, we got the inverted hammer on the last day of trading on January 1st. New Year's Day, we were up 1%. We had rallied up, and then we came back. We got that inverted hammer. We were up 1%, still under the 10. And then January 2nd, on Thursday, we were up 2. Sorry, lost my voice a little bit. New Year's here, so had to cough for a second. Sorry about that. Up 2.67%, and then getting back above that 50 period, holding above the 10 period moving average, getting back above that at our 20 period. And that has given us that 2.67% rally has flipped some signals back to bullish with momentum. And it's trying to do it with our current bar for Friday, which we'll see if it does that for Friday early on next week, if it is a successful reversal of conditions for momentum. Rally can continue big time, get back above our 20 period, then that momentum can flip. Now let's take a look at something else. The Thursday bar has given us, the 2.67% rally has given us a flip in momentum. We now have Thursday's close on January 2nd. We now have the momentum line now flipping back to bullish and tipping back up. We gotta see trend signals turn back to bullish. Otherwise, there's still risk of a lower high or just a counter trend rally. But we got to see if we could get the trend and the momentum. If momentum's turning bullish right now, and we see the trend signals begin to turn bullish, well, then we can resume the advance. Now, I'm getting some bullish signals, not just with momentum. The momentum line flipping from red back to blue here. The bar is flipping back to green, representing momentum, flipping back to bullish. Now, I tried it right here, but it was a counter trend. And then other bullish signals, we're getting two buy signals at horizontal support. Now, over here, look at this. Over here at 52,000, right after we hit 52,000, we started to move up and back into that 53,000 area, and we got a bullish signal right there. And look what happened. And now we're getting one right here. We're getting two of them. So again, it could be a counter trend, or it could be a bottom developing here, one or the other. I don't have the little bottom signal here with momentum as of yet. It may or may not show up. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It showed up here and here, but it didn't show up at some of these other pullbacks. It may not show up here. Had the sell signal show up here, you zoom in with the arrow, you can see the little arrow there and the sell signal with the cloud right here. But I never got the T right there for the top. I may not get the B for the bottom here. And this is just looking at momentum. We got one here, but we didn't get one up here. It's kind of an early warning sign. It never did show up right here. Now we're at this horizontal support, and we're getting these bullish signals. Now look at what else has shown up. We've got this little circle. Again, another signal of short-term momentum, sometimes major turning points. One over here, but we corrected sideways. We didn't get one up here. Again, maybe another early warning sign, but we're getting that right now. So you've got the circle, plus you've got the two buy signals here at key support, plus you have the momentum line turning back to bullish, and then on top of that, if I hover over the little buy signal, you've got your little blue arrow, and there it is right there. I had to hover over it because the buy signal's covering it up, but there you have it. So we've got several bullish signals right here for momentum. Peak of stinking boo. How about that, huh? Got to see the balance of power though turn back to bullish, going green. Got to get the background back to green here. We've got to flip the cloud. We've got to get back above this level. So we'll see what happens. Now this line right here is representing the swing move, and it's just flatlined. So again, we're not dropping below it, and it's not turning red. It's gone from green to just a neutral signal, and it's not turned red. It's still flatlined. If we start dropping, then it will turn bearish. But it could be, again, just suggesting that we're in this sideways trading range of this correction where we've dropped now 16% or so. So I wanted to make an emergency video and warn you that we're getting the green bar representing momentum is flipping. We're getting the momentum line flipping. We're getting the two bullish buy signals. We're getting the arrow, and we're getting the circle all right here at key horizontal support. Again, I continue to believe Bitcoin's going to go make new highs. It could go as high as 120 to 125,000 area. with the next level of resistance, we hit that upper channel line with the log scaling in the weekly time frame that I've been talking about. So a very important signal trying to take place. Now, this could just be a counter trend if we don't see everything turn back to bullish momentum and the trend signals and then remain that way. We got to get back above the cloud here, flip the cloud, see it turn back to bullish and remain that way. Okay, not just go up there and, of it and then turn right back down and start tanking. I just want to zoom out for a second and show you something. Look, we're getting these bullish signals right here. And again, we've gotten them at other important bottoms. I mentioned the higher low that's set up at 52,000 after we've reached 49,000 over here. We got it over here at the July low after the June sell-off. Okay, we got it over here. And again, these produced swing moves back up. Okay, this produced a complete reversal. This was a counter trend. These were counter trends in that larger bull flag that set up. But very interesting. You see the B's and the T's, the bottoms and the tops have marked some really important points with momentum, calling the swing moves, and it's done a very good job. Now we're getting another one, and as I've said, could that mean that wave 4 is done and we're getting another push up for wave 5 and we maybe reach the levels I've been talking about? So I'll be watching this signal very closely to see what becomes of it, and it could just be a counter trend, or it may mark a significant bottom for Bitcoin to resume the advance. See more signals turn bullish. Now, on this chart, we could still see the bullish signals here. Here, rather than the momentum line, I have the impulse line, and it's a little bit more sensitive. It did already turn back to bullish here as well with that bar. It had tried to turn back over here, but it was unsuccessful, whereas the momentum line remained bearish. It's a little bit more sensitive, but they both have now turned with this bar. And we're getting these bullish signals. So is what we need to see is the cloud to flip, and you see this little ribbon right here. Got to get back above it and have it flip back to green. That's got to be confirmed with the momentum line going back into positive territory. Now, it could be we still end up seeing a divergence, and this is a counter trend, and we end up getting a bigger dump before going and trying to make new highs. It is possible that Bitcoin peaked at the trend lines of resistance I talked about if this is only a counter trend, if it stops making new highs. We did get a topping tail in the monthly time frame at the trend lines of resistance. If we can flip things back to bullish, not just momentum, but trend signals, then we could resume the advance. Now see this line right here? This represents the swing move. Bounced off the 100 period, the pink line there, and again, got back above it, and this little purple line, we stayed above it, stayed above it, stayed above it. It's flattened out, it's going red. So we got to get back above that and flip that back to bullish. So again, do we have a counter trend? And then we see momentum flip right back to bearish, or can we get some traction back up and flip the signals back to bullish with the trend and resume the advance? Momentum, I wanted to warn you, momentum is trying to flip here. Our Thursday candlestick bar there, day after New Year's, we're trying to flip momentum here and getting some bullish signals with Bitcoin. Now here I have the bars reflecting the trend, and they're still orange. They were red, it was orange here, and then red, and then still orange, showing a neutral status. We're kind of going sideways in this range, even though we've dropped about 16%. We're in a trading range, and again, at that horizontal support level I've talked about, in that low 192,000 area. We can flip things back to bullish. Bars reflecting the trend could turn back to green. So wanted to make you aware of these signals. There's still more work to be done. To flip things back to bullish. Again, it could be a counter trend, get another lower high, or we could be starting a reversal to resume the advance. That's what this is telling us. But some bullish signals taking place on Thursday, the day after New Year's, January 2nd. Couple of signals on January 1st, confirmation, momentum flipping on January 2nd. So just how high will we go with momentum now flipping? Over here, it didn't last long. Got a couple of signals. The impulse line turned back to bullish briefly, and then it flipped right back to bearish. So we'll see if we can do more than that this time around, flip more signals back to bullish. We'll see what happens. Well, we got warning signs in the weekly time frame of a short-term top. The momentum line in the weekly time frame is still bullish. The trend in the weekly time frame is still bullish. And again, while we've seen the momentum oscillator turn down, again, I think it's going to end up turning back up and forming a divergence. We could see something similar on the RSI and histogram for the MACD. We could see something similar happen. I still think that's likely going to be the case. And I still don't have topping signals here except for that those momentum signals right there. Didn't get topping signals like we had over here. Didn't get a topping signal like we had in 2021 at the second peak in 2021 or the first peak in 2021. So again, we still may go higher and up forming a divergence right here in the most recent price action, and also that larger divergence I talked about on the RSI. So we'll see if we get more topping signals. We did get good bottoming signals here and over here at these two bottoms, and then over here at this bottom. We'll see if we get some good topping signals over here. They're not present yet. Still think you got a good shot of going higher, clear the resistance levels I've talked about. Bitcoin in the weekly time frame. Weekly signals remain bullish. The bulls are in control. This is why I'm saying I still think we're going higher. The signals here, the ribbon momentum is turning back to bullish. If we can clear this line right here, the trend will turn back to bullish. I mentioned we have to try to bounce off of this area here. During the decline, it acted as resistance over and over, and then support. So again, here we are testing it. If we can bounce here, get back above the ribbon here, we could see a turnaround. We have to see more evidence. If this is not just a counter trend, we got to see some real evidence of a turn back up. Now here, we're seeing momentum flip and bounce off Bitcoin's average price right here. The line is flipping momentum from red to back to blue, so that's good. Got to flip this cloud back to green, resume the advance like we did back over here, and get back into positive territory here. Momentum. We're seeing some bullish signals take place with momentum. And momentum trying to flip right here as well, trying to turn back to blue. So we'll see. The cloud is not flipped. We've got to flip the cloud for the trend. Swing move to resume. And then see momentum here get back into positive territory. I'm just showing you some of the different indicators that I looked at. Momentum and trend in the daily time frame, and then momentum and trend in the weekly time frame. It's still bullish. So we're flipping momentum signals. We've got to be able to flip the trend signals, flip this cloud back to bullish, get oscillators back into positive territory. We've seen these divergences play out. We'll see. But if we start breaking this level of support, that would be bearish, and you just get a counter trend if you can't get back above the 20. Got to get back above the 20. You got to get the trend signals flipping back to bullish. Momentum is trying to flip bullish here. And maybe Friday we get a bullish reversal of conditions mentioned earlier, but we've got to see it validated with some of the oscillators here and flip the trend. Same thing here. We're trying to clear the cloud, but it hasn't flipped back to bullish yet. We're staying at the 20-period moving average. They clear the 20-period moving average in the daily time frame. Now here, again, we've got to get back into positive territory. We're not there yet, but we're getting back above the signal line here. That's a positive thing. We've got to get back into the positive region, and then we've got to move back into the positive region of the cloud. We're just under it right there, so we're stalling. We've got to be able to clear that. If we don't, then it's problematic. And again, we'll be watching the horizontal support level. If we bounce here, more signals turn back to bullish. We've got to see the signals turn bullish here above this 99,550 area if we're going to try to recover. And again, it still could just be a right shoulder and give us a bigger dump. That's still a possibility. But if we can get momentum signals back in positive territory and remain there, then that would be a positive for Bitcoin. Now the cloud here is still bearish at this point. I talked about getting back above this 99,500 area and getting back here above this blue line right here and being able to clear that back into the positive portion of the cloud and seeing the price oscillator firm up and get back into positive territory. I talked about this at great length and detail in my last update. If we don't, if this move fails and we take out the horizontal support here, then the risk is we go down to the 100 or the 200 period moving average. Not much in the way of support in this area that could, again, take us back towards that breakout area right here. Broke the downward trend out of the bull flag. We go into positive territory at the price oscillator and we start flipping these signals back to bullish. Then again, you can get a larger divergence with Bitcoin, or again, a brand new divergence may develop if we can see everything flip back to bullish and resume the advance. So again, we're seeing some momentum signals turn back to bullish, but more work to be done. We got to be able to clear this 99,000 area, clear that blue line there, and get the price oscillator back into the positive region if this is the real deal Don Steele flip in momentum that will change the trend back to bullish. About turning back to bullish and going to the upper channel line and this 2-week sequence count, the 2-week bars, and again we're on bar 8. We can rally up to new highs with bar 9 again for 2 weeks, which would mean one more week of bar 8, one more week after this week, which would be the 10th of January, and then we would have another 2-week bar that would finish on January 24th. If we can go to new highs, again, we might complete a 9-count signal. It was a 9-count that marked the peak over here in 2021 at the very top at 69,000. Will it happen again? Maybe. It does show price exhaustion. We'll be watching. You also have a 13 count in play here as well. We're up to bar 11. The 13 count, it can stop and start. The 9 count cannot. It has to be consecutive bars, every bar above the bar from 4 bars ago. So again, the 2-week bars here. So bar 8, we start dropping, then that bar could cancel out that count, that 9 count. If we continue, we can resume the advance and go towards the upper channel lines and try to clear the trend lines I've been talking about. But Bitcoin in the monthly time frame did get a topping tail. Now, this candlestick means nothing unless it gets confirmation and a follow through. So again, that we would have to see confirmation of follow through in the monthly time frame for this candlestick to mean anything. And you might get back-to-back topping candlesticks in the monthly time frame. That's certainly possible. Candlestick could just be canceled out and we could just go on higher, again, towards that upper channel line that I've talked about, weekly time frame with our log scaling. So this candlestick, I'll be watching it to see if anything becomes of it or not. Bounce here, then this candle could be voided out if it fails to get confirmed. We'll be watching to see what happens. This candle is important because NASDAQ 100 got a very similar candle that I've talked about in the monthly time frame, topping tail gravestone doji here. Again, we'll be watching. NASDAQ coin peaked together in November of 2021. Bitcoin peaked and then NASDAQ right after it. There is a risk of that with those topping tails, so something to pay attention to. I think Bitcoin's got a good shot of going to the upper channel line in the weekly. It's still possible that is a top if we can't make new highs. The topping tail that we got on Bitcoin, we got it at major resistance trend lines. And here in the monthly time frame, you can see it right here. Very similar candlestick from back over here, but we've got divergences forming. They may not be done yet, but we have potential divergences that are forming here in the monthly time frame for Bitcoin. The stochastic is starting the month off rolling over. We have diversions developing on the RSI, and we have other divergences which still may not be quite done. That's certainly possible. Larger divergences developing. Momentum in the price oscillator from the previous peak. The MACD is moving to new highs, though, but interesting. And I've talked about Bitcoin going up to the upper channel line and maybe forming a divergence in this most recent price action with the RSI and other indicators like momentum and other signals in the weekly time frame. We could see something like that happen and still go up here and reach the upper channel line before all is said and done. See that here, and we might see it with the stochastic, might see it with the MACD histogram right here, and for momentum, might see it tick back up before they roll over to complete this divergence right here. Very possible if we can bounce. So far for the week, Bitcoin is up 3.68%. We're up $3,425. And we'll see if we can resume the advance, if we can clear the 99,000 area and then back to test the high at 108,000. If we can clear resistance levels like the 20-period moving average, and then if we can get above that, the blue line right there, we can challenge some of these trend lines of resistance that we turned off of. I warned you that we're approaching this trend line. I talked about it before we ever hit it, and then when we hit it, I gave a red alert. There was risk that we turn off of that trend line and the other one that we hit. Now, this is Bitcoin with our weekly linear scaling. We also hit another trend line going back all the way to 2017. We have another one with our log scaling here in the weekly time frame. And this goes back to the 2021 low between the two 21 peaks. And again, going up here, we turned off of that, just tried to overthrow it. If we can bounce off our 10-week moving average, which we're trying to do right now, then we could rally back up above this trend line that we turned down off of, tried to get above it. And if we can go higher, then again, possibly in January, we could reach this upper channel line. That could take Bitcoin up towards 120 to 125,000. Had we reached it sooner, it would have been closer to 115,000, but we fell short of that. Over the last 7 weeks or so, we weren't able to reach that area. So the target level, the trend line is the target, it goes higher. You got a good shot of reaching that upper channel line. Now here you can see the channel by itself. And again, I think that if we can resume the advance at this horizontal support area, we can make our way up here. And again, if we could reach it here in January over the next few weeks, we very well, going into Inauguration Day, could reach this level before that or with that, and again reach 120, 125,000. So just something to pay attention to. This channel at the bottom, we never did reach it. We fell short of it. Do we see something like that or not? We'll see what happens. But here it was close but no cigar. We'll see if we reach it right here. If not, those other trend lines could act as resistance with a topping tail in the monthly time frame. So we'll be watching to see if the bullish momentum signals we're now getting, if that can allow us to resume the advance.